6'6", 340-pound behemoth. Let's kind of give you guys the skinny, pun intended, on Jordan Phillips. So he is a 10-year veteran. He's played with 4 different teams: Miami, Buffalo, twice Arizona, and the New York Giants, but for a cup of coffee, as Law would say. He was only there for a few months. Then the Cowboys went and traded for Jordan Phillips. They gave up a 2026 6th-round pick. In return, they get Jordan Phillips, a 2026 7th-round pick as well from the Giants. Now, you might look at 6'6", 340 and say, oh, well, he is predominantly going to be a run guy, right? Nah, man, he is an interesting guy because he 24 sacks in his career for 6'6", 340. And when you watch the tape, especially against, or with, I should say, the Buffalo Bills, he could get after it. And we should know that because when he played this last year, he was a problem. He essentially caused a lot of issues for the Cowboys, almost had an interception. He was playing out wide. He was playing inside. He has that versatility to him. And again, when you look at the side, you say 6'6", 340. Oh, well, this is a pure over the center, 0-tech, 1-tech guy. That's not the case, man. That is not the case. He has that versatility to line up at 1, at 3, at 0, and out wide. And he did that a whole lot. Now, I want you to keep this in mind, though. Keep this in mind. Sean McDermott's defense is similar to Dan Quinn in regards to what they're asking for their defensive line. They want them to attack. It's an attacking 3-4 defense. So what he's going to be asked to do here this year with Mike Zimmer is not going to be the same thing. So you want to make sure that he's going to buy in. And he's a 10-year vet. I can't see him not buying in. So I don't really worry about it. But this is a prideful 10-year vet. And he has some intangibles to him that I like that we'll get to here in a second. Now, well, Sky, what's the downside to my man? He gets hurt a lot. Not a guy that's going to stay on the field for you a whole lot. The last 4 seasons. Now, last year he did play 14 games, but he was nicked up. Prior to that, 3 straight years where he just was in and out of the lineup. And, you know, around 2019 was about the last time he was consistently on the field for you. Because of his size, you're not going to get 75, 80% of snaps. He gets winded, the conditioning situation, but that's expected for a big guy. You shouldn't really be trying to play Jordan Phillips 75, 80, 85% of the snaps anyway. You want him to work in rotation with a couple guys, right? But in spurts, you kind of see, and it's weird because it's not like Jordan Phillips is some all-pro, but you see some domination in spurts. And I'm using that right here, okay? This isn't a guy that's going to dominate an entire game or anything like that, although against the Cowboys, you could argue he kind of did. But if you can get him in a healthy rotation, although I looked up one of his quotes, and he said something along the lines of, I think it was his 2nd year in Buffalo. He said something along the lines of, hey, you know, I'm glad I can play a little bit more, get my feet up under me. I'm not in and out, and I can understand what the defense or the offense is going to do later on into the game. So, again, I think he's prideful. I think he wants to play, and I think he will play a good bit. In fact, I think he should start. I think he's a better player than Mozzie Smith right now, but that's a discussion. I want to talk to Foots about that in a little bit here. But Jordan Phillips, if he buys in, if he stays healthy, and these are some ifs, he's going to help that defensive tackle room. That defensive tackle room is, or was, I should say, nose tackle room, slight prior to his arrival, right? Mozzie Smith, Carl Davis, Justin Rogers. That's all you have from the bigger nose tackles. Rogers, a 7th-round rookie. Carl Davis, a journeyman who, again, another guy, you know, you don't want out there a whole lot. I say another guy. Jordan Phillips is much better than Carl Davis. But if you can get Carl Davis in a rotation in this scheme, fine. But if you're asking Carl Davis to be the Jonathan Hankins to Mozzie Smith, I don't think that's fine. If you're asking Jordan Phillips to be the Jonathan Hankins to Mozzie Smith, that works for me. Little callback here, too. I don't know how many people were here back in 2019 when I dropped a first video here. It was the first time I did free agency primer. Jordan Phillips was the guy that I wanted. This, or 2020 is actually when it was, because this is when they hired McCarthy, they brought in Nolan, and they were talking about getting more size up front, and he was a free agent, and I was like, I want this cat. Now, this is 5 years now down the line. He's probably not the same guy, but I don't really need him to be the same guy. I just need Jordan Phillips to come in, buy into this system, right? Keep these linebackers clean, take on these blocks. I would like to see him make plays in the backfield, right? He can do that against the run. If you go look at Jordan Phillips against the run, again, a different scheme, but you see him being strong and square, using his arm length, stack shedding, getting into the backfield. You know, we talk about Mazi Smith's athleticism coming out of college. He was on the freaks list. Pause if necessary. But Jordan Phillips for 6'6", 340, I don't know what his testing was coming out. I can't remember. That was a long, long time ago. And I didn't bother to go look because we have NFL film. This cat is athletic for his size. So this isn't some sloppy 300. This isn't Michael Pierce. Look, Michael Pierce is a fine football player. But Michael Pierce is, what did he go, 6'1", 6'2", 360 pounds. He's not getting down the line. You know, he's going to take up, space, and he's definitely going to be a fine nose tackle for you. But Jordan Phillips has versatility because he's athletic. Now, with all that said, again, this isn't a Pro Bowl player. This isn't an all-world, all-pro player. He did have a Pro Bowl year in 2019 when he peaked, right? But I'm not asking him to do that. So quit asking. That's not what I'm asking him to do. But from time to time, I would like to see him do this. From time to time, I would like to see him sack the quarterback, which this is another thing to think about with Jordan Phillips. Because of that versatility, him being able to play 1-3-5-0, wherever you want him to go, he can play next to Mazi. He can also spell Osa Odighizuwa. And I know that might sound crazy, right? Well, Osa's a smaller 3-tech, get upfield. Jordan Phillips can do those 3-tech type things. In fact, if you go look in Buffalo, I think he wanted to do that all the time. So you might have to rein that in a little bit and again, get him to buy in. Now, from an intangible standpoint, the dude is extremely intense. He's nasty, borderline dirty, but you need some of that. Now, you got to check some of it because you don't want to, 15-yard penalty over an unnecessary, ridiculous after the play type of situation, right? But you don't want him to lose all of that. You kind of lost a little bit of that psycho with Sam Williams. Well, you gain that times 10 with Jordan Phillips. Jordan Phillips is intense, a very intense player. And if you don't believe me, just go watch the Eagles-Bills game where they get into it a lot. And if you don't believe me, go watch the Bills-Cowboys game back in 2019 where they beat us on Thanksgiving. Or last year, whatever you want to do. Jordan Phillips, he's shown that he can be a nasty player out there. But again, we're talking in spurts here. We're not talking about a guy that's going to completely, in my opinion, come in and change the dynamics of your defense by himself. He's going to help do that as long as he is getting help.